Today I'm in here with every single mayoral candidate that matters. Ooh, how about that one? They all got the invite, and these are the only ones tough enough and mentally brave enough to come here and not have any stipulations or no borders to this conversation. And we got Regina, we got Heather, and we got Tom. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Fantastic.
Oh, let's get these mic situation. I didn't even see it. Can you just scoot this way a little bit? And then Regina, could you just put your mic a little bit closer towards you? Nice. Perfect. All right. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Good.
Great.
Great. Good. Greats. All right. Before we get into everything, maybe we could do it like they did it. If you guys want to say a little bit about yourself and just give the people a quick synopsis of who you are. I don't know if you guys want to or not. You don't have to.
Like that's the opening statement with everything we do.
Yeah.
I think people know we're here. Obviously, we're dedicated. We all have ideas on how we can make things better for Pueblo.
Mm-hmm.
Our websites pretty much detail our history and our background and where we come from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I currently serve on City Council for District 1 for the North Side. And Heather serves for City Council at large. And Tom's
I serve my wife.
Oh. They all do. Okay. So
legend in your own mind, huh?
fish fear him. I don't know. Okay. All right. So Heather and Tom, this is you guys' first time here. I want to thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I appreciate you guys pulling up. Did you guys see did you guys see last week's episode with Samuel Hernandez Jr. and Elvis Martinez?
I did. I watched it.
You watched it?
A little bit of it.
Any particular parts that you guys? Because I feel like everyone's name came up.
Yeah, nothing that sticks out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Well, let's just get into this shit then. How about that?
That works.
Okay. So when you win mayor of Pueblo, I don't know, what is your first few things you're gonna get done? Heather?
Yeah, so for me, it's about collaborating with the council and mending the relationships with city staff and the rest of the council members and putting together a plan to get things done in each district and having the mayor's office work hand in hand doing that. I think that's really important. I think it's important to get past the status quo and build a 5-year strategic plan for the city of Pueblo because we are definitely lacking that right now. So those are some of my top priorities. First 100 days. I'm also, would like to entertain meeting, 100 citizens in the first 100 days and, getting to know them and what problems they see in Pueblo and how we can work together to find solutions because that's what the mayor should be here for.
I like that. I like the 100 citizens in 100 days.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Regina?
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've been spending a lot of time in people's homes and small home parties, talking to the citizens, getting their input. My plan has been built on the input of the people. This is their asset. This is their city, and they should have the say in it. I understand my position as an elected official is to serve the people. And so I see myself going in like any manager would. I've been in different levels of management, going in and make sure that my team, and that would be the administration of the city, make sure that everyone's in order and we're all on the same page. You can't start to implement things until you make sure that your teammates are all on the same page. And so that's usually what I do. I've been a troubleshooter in my career, go in, assess everything. The other thing too is that we need to run a fiscal audit anytime you transition power in any way, shape, or form or leadership. you need to go over the financials and make sure that everything's correct, because when you accept it, you are responsible for it. And if you didn't do your due diligence and take care of things and make sure that everything, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, you can be responsible for that. And it's just part of what you would do in this situation. Council has, there has been some contention. I would encourage council to have their own legal representation, their own administration. That way they're not reliant on my administration, and I think it alleviates conflict of interest, and it builds trust, because they have their own representation. I would have my own representation, and it'd be a more comfortable place for them. We've been in a situation, Heather and I, here in the last couple years, where the attorney could give you 4 different pieces of advice on the same question. And it seems like a lot of that is tailored to however they want to move things. And so it would be great if they had their own representation, not to divide, but to give everybody the power to understand that they all have their rights, they can move forward.
I like that. Tom, what about you?
Well, I would meet with all of my department heads.
And while you're talking, I'm just going to put the live chat up. I didn't do that. I'm just going to have to step away for a second.
Okay. Keep going. Meet with all the department heads to find out what's going on in the city. Get the pulse of the city. I'm not necessarily convinced that we have the right people in the right jobs. I would definitely work with city council. I don't think there's any room for partisan politics in city politics. I mean, it doesn't exist. We're all here for one reason, and that's the citizens of Pueblo. So I would, the partisan politics, we need to get rid of that right away. But we do need to work together. I mean, and I think that's the only way we're going to get anything accomplished. We've got to collaborate and form a team, and that includes, the president of city council, the mayor, all the members of city council, the department heads. It's a perfect example is where Mayor Gradishar lives. There's a developer that wants to put in, and I think Dennis lives over there too in Ventana, 220 housing units, and the people, they don't want it. We want growth, but it's always not in my backyard, and they're saying that the problem is there's only 2 access points into that neighborhood, when in reality I think they're afraid that they're going to lose their view, that they have. So we really need, like I say, we've got to get past all of this and work together, to get things accomplished. And that's it. We've got to find out why we can't retain police officers. Mayor Gradishar said in 5 years he's hired 70. Well, we're still short 70, so that tells me that in 5 years we've had 140 quit. Yeah. So why? Wherein lies the problem? We need to solve this problem. I think we can recruit police officers. I really do. We just can't keep them. So we've got to figure that out. But yeah, I think it's all about working together as a team with the city council.
Guys, how's the volume now, guys? They were saying that they had a little bit of trouble hearing you guys at first, but I think we got it down now. I put hose the volume now. I apologize. I meant to put house the volume. My bad. Tom's good on the volume. Okay. Just let us know, guys, if the stream's acting right. We want to get this perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear good.
Yeah, I turned it up super loud now. I could hear wind. I could hear like air move. Okay, so
well, I'm glad you brought up land use, because we are going to come up with a bunch of issues. Well, not issues. We're going to come up and we're going to actually change some of the planning and zoning codes and changes for land use. And right now we have a RFP out, and we're trying to choose the company that's going to come in and help us with all of these changes. And I don't know that it's all necessarily about not in my backyard as much as it is, You know, when Polis's bill, land use bill, where he wanted to come in and take jurisdiction over municipalities, and it was going to be said and made aware at state level that the decisions were going to be made at state level. If you looked at the policies and the plan, what it does is it makes neighborhoods equitable. So anyone could live, they can create neighborhoods and subdivisions where really anyone could live. And if you look at the American family and the American dream, some people like to have their neighborhood match their subdivision as a whole equally. You know, some of the things that they're looking at is allowing ADU units, additional dwelling units, on single-family properties. Now, we don't move into a single-family neighborhood and want our neighbor necessarily to build a rental in their backyard. And so some of the things that they're looking at really change middle-class housing and affect middle-class housing. And so it's a much deeper issue than not in my backyard. And I encourage all citizens to be involved when this comes to the table, because they're going to ask for the citizens' input, and it's don't just have let all the developers show up. The citizens need to show up too, because you know I live in a neighborhood, a historic neighborhood, where I have a third of an acre. My lot, I could fit a 20 by 30 size building on the back. I can have put an apartment back there under these new laws. But the people that moved into my neighborhood didn't move into a neighborhood where they wanted multifamily and all their neighbors to have rentals on it. And that's how extreme the land use changes are. And when you start to let that in, it starts to change the dynamics of the city and planning and zoning. It's a pre-plan where you have R1, R2, R3, and it seems like in Pueblo that we're constantly changing the zoning on. And so it does mess out with the plan and the map and the comprehensive plan of the city and how it's supposed to run. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've been wanting to have a platform where we have citizens that are viewing in, and it's coming up here pretty soon, and I'd like for them to pay attention and attend some of those meetings and give input from the citizens of the city, because some things can change pretty drastically.
No, absolutely. In that case, but with the shortage of housing, now Colorado Springs did this in some of the neighborhoods. They allowed people to convert garages into apartments and such, and it seemed to work for them in some neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Other neighborhoods, obviously, it's not. Where I live, I mean, it wouldn't work. But we do need. There again. Now we're getting into housing. We need more affordable housing. Rentals, it doesn't matter.
Well, there's a whole new section of Wild Horse that was just annexed in, and they could put that as part of their development plan on maybe more smaller scale houses. We have a lot of that going up in the west side right now. There are large parcels of land that really don't affect, the intention of the original subdivision, and so.
Well, we've got to make it easier for developers to develop this land. I spoke to a gentleman who wanted to build 50 affordable housing units over on the south side. And then the city came back and said, well, yeah, that's fine. We'll approve the zoning, but you need to run a 36-inch sewer line a mile and a half down Prairie Avenue. And
that's what developers have to do.
And then it's no longer affordable housing, because that $4 or $5 million sewer line project gets passed on to the developer, who then in turn passes it on to, whoever's looking to buy the houses. So we pay sewer tax fees, and they're crazy. I've got a house of two, family of two, and it's ridiculous what we pay in sewer tax fees. I think some of that burden needs to fall on the city.
Well, The sewer connection fees were just approved by city council within the first couple of months that I was sat on council. And I asked, how are we going to afford, build affordable housing? And there is some grace and there is some things the city can do, but it has to be a true affordable housing project.
Right.
The other reason why the land use codes and things will be changing is because they want to build a smaller home. But the thing is that they're wanting to put like car charging stations in the homes. They're wanting to make it solar. They're wanting to do net zero. And those are very costly expenses for the people who are occupying it. So they're sacrificing the space of the home to put in these amenities to meet the net zero alternative energy. And I don't know that is that really necessarily fair?
No.
Because we don't have we still don't have a sustainable replacement for what we're doing now. And so we're doing a lot of investment and, smaller. They say their theory is that, America is just, they live too big. The houses are too big. Everything about Americans, they just live large and they need to live smaller. Well, you know what? That's why we're America. Because we have the freedom to make those choices and do those things.
No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many things that the city government has control over when we talk about affordable housing, but things that we can do, for instance, the liens that we
the
hold on
tax
the
liens.
houses.
Right.
We had several properties on the east side that had asked to have transferred to urban renewal so that they could transfer them to Habitat for Humanity. The city, even though the council passed the ordinance, the city has still yet to transfer those two properties to urban renewal to give to Habitat for Humanity. So there's things that the city could be doing that we're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating.
5 years ago when I ran for mayor, I made that argument that that's what we needed to do. And I still, today and 5 years ago, I thought that we needed to take some PEDCO funds, deposit them with a community bank or a credit union, and use that money. We're not gambling it away or giving it away, but use that to collateralize loans for small businesses. Say you and I don't care how small it is, you would come to the city and we'd agree, okay, we're going to collateralize this loan for Graham's Grill for a new fryer, okay? And Mayor Gradishar said that was something that was impossible to do because those funds were dedicated for creating primary jobs. Well, apparently it's something that can be done. And I think we need to still look at doing that and possibly making construction loans available for people.
Sure.
Regina, you've got some construction background. If you built a house yourself without using a general contractor or somebody like me, you're going to save a lot of money. And in Pueblo County, they'll let you do the electrical, the plumbing. You can do it all and save a lot of money and have a lot of sweat equity into your house. You'd have to be able to qualify for permanent financing in order to keep the program working. But I think there's a lot of different things we could look at. I mean, and like I say, it's the tax lien, foreclosures. Give those houses to someone, okay, and give them a construction loan. And then you put a stipulation on there. Well, you can't sell this house for X amount of years, and you can only make a certain percentage of profit because it has to go to someone else for affordable housing. Well,
that's where you have organizations like NeighborWorks, okay?
We got a question from chat too. They say to all four candidates, should any of the churches involved in Forging Pueblo have to pay taxes now that they are actively involved in politics? Shout out Steve for that question.
Forging Pueblo is a nonprofit.
Okay.
It's established as a nonprofit, and it works within the rules of the state where it receives its nonprofit status from. And so if Steve C. has an issue with that, then he needs to notify the state and see if he's right with what he's saying up there, or if Forging Pueblo is right in doing what they're doing.
What about just like morally, in your head and heart? Do you think that they should or they shouldn't?
I think that anyone can put a candidate forward and represent a candidate, and support a candidate. It's no different than if all the clowns in the circus were supporting me. If that's what they wanted to do, that's their right. That's their freedom. And so I'm not going to get in the middle of the tit for tat over the church. Separation of state is not part of the First Amendment. It's part of Thomas Jefferson's speech. And so, you have to really understand the Constitution, understand the First Amendment and everything that it meets. And at a city level, we're not concerned about who's supporting who. If you want to support a candidate that's supported by a special interest group, because that's who they'd be, then that's your choice, and that's that group's choice to do.
Yeah, I think it's up to it falls back on the candidate. If you want to take money from certain groups or certain individuals, because you feel that their support of the community is important, then you take the money or you take the support. And if you don't, then you raise money elsewhere, and you don't get involved either way. But I think groups should be able to support who they want.
I'm just gonna lift this
whether
up.
You whether you agree with the certain group or not. I mean, that's why we're all here. That's freedom of speech, and we live in America. So
yeah, the Ku Klux Klan has the same right to support Regina, or is the Greater Pueblo Chamber of Commerce would have to support Heather. It doesn't matter. It's a right that you have, and it's like Regina could say, I'm going to distance myself from these Klansmen, but
they wouldn't choose me anyways, Tom, because if you know the history of the Ku Klux Klan, I'm a little too dark for them.
That was quite the example, Tom.
Yeah.
I
mean, you would know, right? I'm a little too dark for the Klan. Or skinheads or whatever they're called.
Steve updated his question. He says, the founder of Forging Pueblo, Quinn, not going to say his full government, stated in the Pueblo Chieftain that Forging Pueblo started as a network of a few churches, but has grown to around 18 churches today that participate. I think in my heart and head, I don't know how involved I want the church in my policies. I think there should be that separation.
Well, you quoted yourself one time, "In God we trust."
I did.
So now
but
you're changing your mind?
Well, we were in Forging Pueblo.
So you weren't being honest?
Well, no, I believe in Jesus Christ, and Jesus is my savior. But as a human being that has, I have enough wherewithal to know that, hey, everyone doesn't think like I do, and there's a lot of ways to grow up.
And so, are they supporting biblical worldview, or are they supporting values, people's values?
I don't know.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, I think we should ask Forging Pueblo.
Quinn, what do you think? I know you're watching this.
I'm sure Forging Pueblo has. They actually, if you go to their website, they have a place where you can email in and ask those questions.
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question.
Otherwise, when we get into this conversation, we're putting in a bunch of what our personal opinions are, and if they feel that they're in violation of something, they can go to the Secretary of State and file a complaint there. So,
let's see. I think we had shout out Elvis for being in the chat for real. Okay, nah, city manager, obviously not. We're all running for mayor, bro. Come on.
Right. I think we should talk about crime.
Okay, let's talk about crime.
I think that's why I came.
Okay. What do you got?
Okay. So, as many of you know, that's a lot of our platforms, and it's a huge problem in the city right now.
Shout out Randy Thurston, Zero Tolerance, ass.
Yeah, so I came here tonight because I wanted to ask Randy Thurston what zero tolerance means and how do you get to zero tolerance? And although all of us, citizens, community members, business owners, we would all like to see zero tolerance, but we know that is not something that we can attain right now. We'll probably be down 60 officers by the end of the year. The city of Pueblo, no matter who the mayor is, will never supersede state legislation. So although we hear a lot of talk about Pueblo being a home rule city, there's only so many things that you can do with Pueblo being a home rule city. Even my ordinance, for example, $2,000 used to be a felony if you stole. Now $2,000 or less isn't. My ordinance is a misdemeanor, $300, 3 days in jail. That's a misdemeanor. So there's a lot of things that, yes, we can do at a local level, but there's a lot of things that we can't do. And so when we talk about zero tolerance, I'm wondering how Mr. Thurston is going to obtain zero tolerance when we talk about drug dealers, car thefts. Without state legislation, those aren't fights that the city of Pueblo can fight. And without a jail, with more than Councilor Maestri and I last year, we had several meetings with the jail, the county commissioners, the municipal judge at the time, trying to advocate for the city to get more bed space
In the jail.
So right now,
It's very overpopulated.
well, even if it's not overpopulated, our jail will actually only hold about 10 municipal
Right.
holds.
Yes.
And so the sheriff is not taking citizens of Pueblo and putting them in jail. That's not what's happening. They're taking from all other counties. And so the city only has, on a handshake, not even a contract, only 10 municipal beds. And that doesn't suffice for the city of Pueblo.
No.
I think that the county commissioners need to put pressure on the sheriffs and the sheriff's office to allow more people to allow more municipal holds to go into the jail, and I think that could help clean up a lot of the crime instead of people being let out 6, 8, 12 hours after they commit a crime. That is why you see the offenders on the street. It's a huge morale impact to the police department when they're continuously just playing catch and release. Some criminals are getting arrested 3 times a day. And, they're taken and then they're let back out. And so that is why you see this significant crime increase. And we're not talking about part 1 crimes. So we've heard the mayor, we've heard the police chief talk about part 1 crimes being actually down 15%, which, kudos to our police department. But that's homicide, arson, armed robbery, rape.
Those are the big ones, though.
They're the big ones.
Right.
But I think people in Pueblo really care about petty crime. They care about your cars being broken into, your cars getting stolen, your windows getting smashed.
Your car's getting stolen is a
But
higher.
it's petty. It's petty. It's under 2,000, or it's a misdemeanor right now.
Well, they were writing a ticket. Yeah, they're writing a ticket, but they're still not doing that at municipal level. It's still at a higher level. It's not a municipal crime. It's a state crime.
But it's these lower level offenses, that
We can't.
we
We
hear
can't.
about.
But we can't do about anything about it on a municipal level.
And so I'm curious, what Mr. Thurston's plan is when we say zero tolerance. Because whether win or lose, we're on city council for 2 more years. We'd love to hear what that plan is moving forward, and if these are tangible items and solutions, we'd love to help put it in place. So,
You think it just sounds good?
I think it just sounds good.
It just sounds
Absolutely.
good.
There's-
What do you think, Tom?
It just sounds good.
Well, the
And
thing is before I announced, he wanted to meet with me at Starbucks, and when I asked him to explain zero tolerance to me, he ended up he says, "Well, it means exactly what I said." Well, I'm on city council, and I want to know because I hadn't announced. I wanted to know what to look forward to. Because I'm excited, zero tolerance. He ended up calling me, referring to me as he said I was being divisive like a Democrat and basically wanting to walk out at that point. And so.
That's why he's not here.
I didn't say it.
But, there are things that we can do as the leader of this city. It's a longer route. But, what put us here today is state legislation and our state legislators. And while they were decriminalizing, we could have had representation from the leader of our city going, hey, you know what they're trying to do to us? You know what they're trying to do to our police department? Do you know what things? But nothing like that was done because I believe partisan politics played into it. My friends, our buddies, our party, we got to protect what they're doing. So there really wasn't a presence from city leadership up there saying, and notifying the citizens, hey, make your phone calls. Call those legislators. No, those legislators came from Pueblo, that wrote the policies that decriminalized, that took away the qualified immunity from our police officers. They didn't come out of any other place but right here in Pueblo. And, to this day, they're still celebrated because nobody even knows to this day that the reason they're suffering from these crimes is because that's who wrote it. That's who pushed it forward. That's who got it through the Capitol.
Okay, so going back to last week, I had Samuel Elvis on here. They're both in the chat. And Sydney, I was about to call you Curly Sid because that's your user handle on here. Sydney asked, do you think crime stems from poverty? What's everyone's takes on that?
I think it can.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
we have in Pueblo we have a huge problem with generational poverty, and
Sure.
so it's almost a learned. My parents did it. I did. I do it, and so I think that we have to get away from that. That it's okay, and whatever that looks like. There's so many aspects, to get people out of poverty, but. Sure, I think they go hand in hand.
Definitely, I agree.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
You
Yeah,
look at
absolutely.
we get ComStat reports from the police department, and you look and you see where the hot areas of crime are, and Bessemer and the East Side are the two top hot spots on those sheets, and they're in our neighborhoods that are full of poverty, and so I think it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous if you don't think that. Honestly, it's you've never been poor if you guys ever stole anything.
I would say yes. I mean, I think everybody has, even intentionally or unintentionally. I think it's. I don't think there's anybody out there who can say I've never stolen anything.
Hit the self checkout.
Yeah,
Don't even
self-checkout.
check. Don't even check the steak right into the bag. But that was a long time ago.
It was necessary though, wasn't it?
No, I speaking of the people living in garages, I wasn't homeless, but if I didn't have this garage to move into, I would have been homeless. When I was in college, it was dead of winter. I bought a heater from Goodwill, $5, and that kept me basically alive for the whole winter. I just, kind of the story you would tell me. I had a falling out with my roommate, or as in your situation, that guy had a falling out with his wife. And if my name's not on the lease, and you don't want me there, I gotta leave. So I didn't have anywhere to go. So that garage basically saved my life.
Right.
A weird way to put it.
Maybe we should talk about the shelter next.
What's your thoughts on that?
I'm confused. So the council, expended $400,000 last Monday to the rescue mission, and part of the wing of it was going to be a warming shelter. And this very cold weekend, council had an emergency ordinance also on Monday night to allow the mayor to declare an emergency night. So unhoused individuals would be able to go in, and whether that's the mission or in a church, or I think even in a nonprofit building, if they want to open their doors to welcome people in, they're allowed to do so. So, we know it's going to be cold. The mayor, the city attorney says that, there won't be a problem. We'll be able to close on the building. We'll be able to open they'll have the building for the weekend.
And the emergency order is because it supersedes
Zoning.
It supersedes zoning. So because not every building is zoned to just let people in overnight.
So,
Okay.
I start to see the weather, changing. And so actually Sunday morning, I, email Mayor Gradishar and say, although we don't get along, I say, Mayor, are you going to call tonight as a declaration? Because I'm getting a lot of phone calls from community members wondering where we should tell people to go. I received no email, no answer back from him.
Wow.
They did not declare the night. It was 7 degrees when I left Monday morning, and I was then trolled on my Facebook page by him saying that the mission had enough room that night. Well, on one of the coldest nights that we'll face this year, if the mission had enough room that night, then I'm wondering why the city council just spent $400,000 on a building. So, you know, I don't believe that they had enough money. I know that, you know, there were several people out sleeping on the streets. I know Crazy Faith, I think, was actually maybe taking people back and forth to the library. I wasn't sure what was going on. They had like their van parked out there. They were just letting people, you know, sleep in their van because it was bitterly cold. And so when you have leadership and local government, you know, that was no additional cost to the city to call. It was nothing. It was just making a declaration for any church to be able to open.
You think he did that just because he doesn't like you as a person, or he just doesn't give a fuck?
I'm not sure why he did it, but it's alarming, and the community should be alarmed, you know, that did not happen, that on a 10-degree night, the mayor, the only person who can make the declaration, did not make the declaration. And if the answer is I did not make the declaration because the mission was not at capacity, then I'm not sure why we just spent an extra $400,000 on the building, and I'm not sure why we have, you know, homeless people on every corner in Pueblo. I have a business, you know, not too far away from here in the Mesa Junction, and, you know, on the daily, when I go there in the morning, there are several people sleeping outside of my patio.
Right.
You know, right around the block, there's several people sleeping, and so I think that this is something that we seriously need to look at.
Well, we have a no camping ban that's going to be introduced here within the next couple of sessions that we've been working on. Up north, they've been instituting these camping bans from the spring through the summer. It's a no camping ban as long as you have bed space, which we have plenty of bed space now. According to our capacity, you know, of how many homeless people we have here.
Bed space at the mission is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Beds. Okay. Just so everyone's
Especially
clear.
with the new all they need is overnight bed space. Okay, and so they won't be allowed to camp on any public land, any city owned land, without facing a fine. And you know, they've been saying that the population has grown here in Pueblo. And I believe that it's because they've passed these up north, and they're implementing the fine, and they're moving down this way because we don't have a fine here. So we need to start implementing that because our population is growing. It's grown by two times the amount in the past couple of months, and so they're either coming out of there. Rather than facing the fine up north. And so there's bed space. They have the bed space.
Well, what's the census? I mean, how many homeless people do we actually have in the city of Pueblo?
The point in time count, which was the pit count that they did, it said that we had 359, which we know that's not accurate. It was, you know, I think it's done over the course of a week.
Yeah.
And it's done by, you know, individuals going out and surveying. So if you don't respond, or, you know, I know that there was certain area, they did not, you know, travel Fountain Creek. They did not travel places that were unsafe. So it was more of just,
who do we see?
And I don't even think that the mission or Crazy Faith at the time participated in the survey. So I think that there's many more.
There's 359 in Bessemer. You know, off in northern. I mean, it's...
Well, here's the thing, though. We need to start doing something about it because our environment is being extremely polluted and destroyed by the camps and the homeless people. Now, they have the opportunity to go to the mission every night or any shelter and sleep there. But they are not allowed to they would not be allowed to set up a camp space anymore because with that camp space comes trash, human waste. They're cooking drugs in some of them. I mean, it's all hazardous waste. And then for our employees in the city to go out and clean those spots is, it's detrimental to their health. They get pricked by a needle. They get flesh-eating disease. They get exposed to where they've been cooking drugs. And that's huge. That's a huge liability on the city. So not only are you polluting our lands, and if we have to get rid of our gasoline engines and go to wind and solar power to preserve the environment, we're pretty counterproductive if we're letting everybody throw trash and defecate all in public.
Well, I mean, I see your point. Okay. Do you think that the reason these people are not going to the mission every night is because accessibility issues, that they just can't get there? Like, it's just...
No, it's because there's rules.
Okay. You said they can't set up any more camps if they go there.
No, they can't. There's no camps that are going to be allowed
Okay.
when this ordinance comes out.
So the city of Pueblo does not have a camping ban.
Yes.
So you can.
What are the rules then?
The rules are you can't
To go
set
to the
up.
mission.
You'd have to go. You can walk.
The rules of the rest.
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah.
I think what Deryk is asking now, what are the rescue missions rules?
Oh,
The-
well,
these
you
guys
know,
don't
that
wanna-
was one of the reasons why we didn't vote for it, because we bought a piece of city property to be used for a certain reason.
Low barrier.
Yes, and they're having to be able to put rules in place, which I completely understand if that's the mission and that's their policy, and in their building they want certain things done. Because you should never mix transitional housing, people who are trying to transition out of homelessness, with the guy who doesn't want to stop drugs, doesn't want to stop drinking, doesn't want to stop crime. You can't, because it's an influence. The people that are transitioning are struggling. This is the big struggle to cross that finish line.
Oh yeah, totally. It's easy to fall back into your I don't know if you're
Habits.
doing drugs at one point,
Your
right?
habits.
It's triggers and whatnot. Yeah, I think. Okay, so the rules to go to the mission, I don't think we ever solidified that. No drugs. You can't do drugs there. You can't probably drink
No,
there.
you can't.
You can't do drugs there.
No, you
You
can't.
think that's the major reason what's stopping them is?
Oh, I'm sure it is. They don't want to follow rules. They want to do whatever it is that they want to do. So what does that say to us as the taxpayer? Are we supposed to allow them to just, do whatever they want to do to our lands? Are we supposed to provide them with a temporary housing so they can treat it like they do their campsite?
Okay, so we have a very active chat. I'm just gonna read some of these out. We need a homeless shelter that allows pets. How about all these empty buildings around town? Tiny home projects. Most regular people are one missed paycheck away from experiencing homelessness. The needle giveaway. Rehabilitation centers for drug addicts. Yeah, I think we all are. It's common sense to implement all of these ideas. It's just, what is the strategy? Because all of these ideas are very good ideas, right? I think everyone here can agree. This, oh my God. Did you guys see this one? Joe Latino, man. I feel bad for this guy, bro. He's getting the works on Facebook.
Well, everybody makes their choices. Everybody makes their choices. Joe made his choices.
But it's just also unfortunate that, we all know here how hard it is to run campaigns, to be in the public eye 24/7. And people should be talking about how they're going to move their platform forward. Instead of slinging mud at other candidates. We're all adults here, and we should all be above it. And, it's piss poor politics when you are doing stuff like that. It's not amusing. It's not a good look. And, quite frankly, I don't think that people in the community want people like that in leadership positions on the city council or in the mayor's office. We have huge problems to solve in Pueblo, and I think you just need to leave all of that at the door.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I think-
agree with that.
Absolutely.
I see that people are, crisscrossing the line into other people's campaigns, and they're not even their opponent, and making stuff up.
Yeah, tell us what you're going to do, right?
Yeah,
Tell us
exactly.
how you're going to make the change.
Yeah.
And that's how people are going to vote. They're not going to vote about he said, she said,
Yeah,
this
tattletales.
person, that. You shouldn't vote like that. Maybe some people do. But when I go to vote, I look at the background, check out their website. I try to see who I'll be able to work with and who I think has good ideas to put the city forward.
Like, we all sit here and say Elvis is cute, but what's his policies? Where's his policies? that's what we're elected to do. It's here to implement policies and to make sure that we move the city forward.
Well, I don't know if he's got policies laid out, but I think his intentions are good. I think he wants to see the city moved forward. Like I say, he's not a slick talker like Mayor Gratishar. He's by no means is he a lawyer. I think he has a problem, articulating himself and his ideas, as to what he's trying to say. But I think
he cares.
Yeah, he cares.
I agree.
And that goes a long way. He cares. It's obviously Mayor Gratishar doesn't care. We had 10-degree weather and homeless people out on the sleeping out on the street. So I don't think Alvis would have. He probably would have made that call if he were mayor.
Make it way above 10 degrees. Make it at 32 degrees. That's when water freezes.
That's freezing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you should just can't he just be like automatic? This is an automatic thing whenever this temperature reaches that.
I think,
Right.
and it should be, like from, October through March, and we shouldn't have to wait every day,
Right.
if one person is going to call the night, like the declaration. I think if you're a church and you want to bring people in, or you're a nonprofit and you want
You
to bring,
can do
or
that.
the mission wants
Absolutely.
to
You
open,
should.
they should be able to. We
Absolutely.
shouldn't have to be watching the news or looking at the city's Facebook to see if the city thinks it's
It should
cold
just
enough.
be standard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's crazy.
It should be standard without any penalty. So if our temperature is 19 degrees or below, then it should just be in place. I don't know why.
Oh, there's
we
penalties if you do it without the city saying that?
Well, they could, because you could be breaking zoning laws by having an abundance of people.
Or fire code if you
Fire
have
code and
X
things
amount
like
of
that.
individuals, and you can't have them in overnight. So this ordinance, this emergency declaration, does away with all that. So you're allowed to.
I like that. I like that you should be able to do, as you wish,
Yeah.
and there should be an automatic thing in place. Gratishar kind of. You gotta answer that one on Monday or Tuesday, whenever the hell you come. Curly Sid has a good question, just also in the regards of homelessness, but also in general society, and with sexual assault comes the need for an abortion or a rape kit or an abortion or something like that. So I'll read out her question exactly. It says, what kind of services and healthcare are we providing for women and feminine presenting people who have high rates of sexual assault resulting in pregnancy while homeless? Sorry if I kind of stuttered there.
So I don't think that that's necessarily a something that the city provides for. I can't think of any funding sources, that come out of our general fund. We've seen the city received, the $36 million in ARPA funds, and we were able to distribute those funds to many nonprofits. But in our normal budget, that's not a line. Those aren't line items that the city usually
The
funds.
health department.
Very specific.
Yeah, the health department, we give them an allotment of money every year.
Yep.
Along with the county, and they decide what those services are. So they're the entity that provides anything. I don't know to what capacity. I know they do some testing, they offer some vaccinations and things like that. But for those who receive Medicaid, that's also coming from a county, that's a state funded program.
Well, anybody.
I think people have a hard time believing or understanding. Yes, we are a government entity, but our money is based off of tax revenues and fees that we collect. It's a very limited resource. We can't even apply for grants on things that we can't administer. We have a purpose. And the purpose of the monies that we receive is to maintain this city, to bring new infrastructure and grow economic development. It's not set up, we just don't have the funding to fund social programs.
Well, anybody can walk into an emergency room at St. Mary Corbin or Parkview, and they're not going to get denied service. And I don't care. You can walk in there right now and have no insurance and need quadruple bypass surgery. You know what? You're going to get it. They're going to treat you just like they do anybody else. And I mean, that's the reality of it. So to say that
But you're going to be homeless after that bill.
Well, you're already homeless before that bill. So,
Oh, I mean, that's
but
true.
no, well, what they'll do is that then they'll get you on Colorado Indigent Health, and that bill will get negotiated down to, you know, a few dollars, and they'll write it off. And I mean, that's really how the system works. But if you have a job and you've got a little bit of money, you know, they're going to say, you know what, no, we're going to collect that money from Deryk, you know, and they will. And a lot of people do end up in problems with. You can end up homeless real quick, you know, because of medical bills. End up in bankruptcy. Next thing you know, you're homeless. I mean, it's one of those things. But I mean, no one should ever be afraid, you know, not to go seek medical treatment, you know, just because they're homeless.
Yeah.
You know, or they're unemployed. But because the resources are out there.
You know, I think when you get into those situations, you know, you get a lot of women that are sex trafficked. And their victims. We talk a lot about the homeless camps down there. You know, when you're in there and you're listening to the stories, a lot of those women are so drugged up because they do receive some sort of minuscule resources, and their resources are being taken and they're just being drugged and they're being used. And so if you didn't have the camps, you could lessen that problem. If you didn't allow the camps, you could lessen that problem.
The problem is just going to move somewhere else. I mean, you've got to solve the problem. You know, if they're not in the camps, they're going to be, you know, somewhere else. You know, it's not going to alleviate the problem. It's just going to move the problem from one place to the other.
You know, we can only help those that want help.
True. Very true.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
we can only help those that want help. So to design a whole program of trying to prevent that from happening is not at the hands of the city or the responsibility of the city. What you can do, the best you can do, if they're going to go somewhere else and they're going to commit crimes and they're going to take advantage of women, we just know that here in Pueblo, we're not going to allow that to happen, because we're not going to allow them to gather in a place and create their own little city with their own little laws and their own little rules down there to
Zero
do what
tolerance.
they want.
Yeah, I agree. Samuel said, I think those are completely different, men. I think being sexually assaulted, well, actually, fuck. Those are kind of actually pretty two of the same. I don't know.
You know, I mean, it's, I guess if that's how you want to, if that's your platform, go for it, you know?
No, sexual assault is never okay. Fuck all that. And if you do that shit, you deserve to be in jail.
Mm-hmm. You know, because there's, I've spoken to a lot of people in law enforcement and first responders in this community that will tell you that drug addicts sell their children for sex so that they can buy their drugs.
Definitely.
I mean, that's no secret.
No.
That's absolutely no secret. And so,
What about abortions?
What about them?
What's everyone's stances on that?
Well, everybody knows my stance. But you know what's very concerning? Is that we have a legalization of abortion in this state without any regulation. And so that through my having educated myself and not just taken someone's word for it, we have abortion clinics that have less regulations than the dog pound. And so anyone, because when Dr. Carhart died, when he passed away, his shingle still hung in that abortion clinic to keep it open. And we don't even know if it's been replaced with another physician.
You said a shingle?
Oh, it's
an expression.
It's an expression.
Oh, okay.
That means they're licensed.
Oh, they're licensed. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
So
not a doctor.
really,
but
they're out of compliance. But because we don't have a policing, regulating agency to regulate it, it just continues as usual. And it'll tell you right there in the statutes that you don't have to be a licensed medical professional to perform an abortion in a clinic. They just have to have the doctor's license hanging in the clinic. Well, we had a dead doctor, and yet the doors were still open. And so...
Tom, what about you? What's your opinion on abortions?
Well, I personally, I would be considered a pro-lifer, but I don't think it's my business to tell anybody else how to live their life.
But as mayor, like, you kind of have to.
No, not really.
You kind of have to like set up the.
It's Heather's choice. It's Regina's choice. It's Viv's choice. It's personal choice. My personal choice is I'm pro-life, but I don't look down on anyone else who is pro-choice. That's a choice they make. If a woman wanted to get an abortion, that's something that she has to live with. You know, that would be, you know, her issue. It doesn't affect me, but that's a choice that I think she should be allowed to make. If I were a woman, I would not make that choice.
What if you were raped?
You know, there's options out there. Okay, there's the morning after pill.
What if you were raped and held hostage for 4 months, and this guy's continually raping you, and he's not letting you go see the doctor? And you still get an abortion?
Well, you know what, Deryk? What if you were raped?
I would get
Wait
an
a
abortion.
second. What if you were raped and you went to seek an abortion, but they didn't have a trained medical professional to help you with that? Wouldn't it be just like legalizing back alley abortions because there's no regulation?
I'd rather have a access to a back alley abortion than no abortions.
Have you ever seen the results of an untrained professional performing an abortion?
I mean, I think the untrained professionals come when
I
you
think
start
that if you're going to legalize
regulating
it,
abortions, because we gotta have access to them, or else people aren't going to be able to be trained.
I think that if you are legalizing it, it should be safe for women.
I agree with that.
Okay,
It should always be safe.
And that's what I'm asking.
Oh, word.
That's what I asked for. I wanted to bring awareness that because we were a state for legal abortion, it's not just that simple. Okay? And they want to say it's not an issue, but over 70 cities in different states, not just Texas, have passed this, and they've passed it for different reasons. Some was because there were only 4 abortionists in the country that performed the abortion from 6 to 9 months.
Well, that's kind of extra, though. You know, let's talk about like I don't know about most situations, but like a general situation. Like, Heather, what's your thought on that? Like 6 to 9 months, obviously. Like, I don't want to see a fully developed baby die. Obviously, like that.
Nobody wants to see that. But
Yeah.
Again, this isn't conversation for the mayor, for the city council, for municipal government to be having. If you want to ban abortion, call your state legislators. We've already been down this road so many times. This is not a discussion for the people that are in this room. It's not up to us.
That, several cities and several city councils have taken it. And, actually...
Not in Colorado.
Colorado is, you just have to have the guts to do it. But in New Mexico, for instance, the state attorney went after these cities in New Mexico who had passed the ordinance. It's not outlawing abortion. It's just saying, hey, I don't want this unregulated system here in my city harming the women of my city.
Yeah.
That's all it's saying. It's not outlawing abortion. Abortion's been legal for many years. You know why Pueblo did not have an abortion clinic for many years? Because it's sitting empty like this one over here. The citizens of Pueblo can't support that abortion clinic, and that's why it's mostly empty. The thought was they were going to do the late-term abortion. That was the plan. That was their initial plan. That's why they came here. Do you know what the late-term abortions bring? Because there's only 4 doctors in the country.
You did explain this to me one
Yeah.
time.
It brings tourism.
It's
It
insane.
brings tourism.
Oh, I didn't.
And
I didn't know that one.
then see, another part that's not regulated is in the state of Colorado, you don't have to do statistics, keep statistics on how many late-term abortions are being performed. But if you took the statistics that they did take from the rest of parts of the United States, that would have been 58 out a week coming out of this clinic.
Regina, you're going to have to show me this unregulated abortion deal.
Well, do what I did, Tom, and go to the state regulation and read it. It's very simple.
I'm not buying this that anybody can perform an abortion.
Well, you know what?
You may not have to be a doctor, But you've got to have some sort of credentialing, I would think.
Well, go back to the city council meeting
certified
where
nurse
Parkview
or-
Hospital
I agree.
doctors came in, and I asked them point blank, did you realize you don't have to be a licensed medical professional to perform an abortion? And you know what the answer was? Yes. I learned that today because they looked at the regulation. It's right there. Just look at
I'm
it.
gonna have to look at that because I'm
Good.
having a hard time with that one.
Well, good. It's because it's public information. All you have to do is look it up.
I mean, everything's regulated. You know, it's and for something that serious to be unregulated is just hard for me to fathom.
Well, then look it
It's-
up.
I am going to look it
Good.
up. It's, you know, I do a lot of research, and I can tell you when I do my research, I can find something that's going to support everybody else. We could all have a different opinion, and I'm going to find research that's going to support every one of our opinions.
State regulation
So, and I am going to look it up.
Yeah, great.
Where's it at under the state regulations?
under the abortion law.
Okay,
Under the abortion law.
okay.
Yeah,
What's next?
Get on that, Viv.
I think
What's next?
You got your phone? Get on that right now.
Reading the comments.
Get on that. State regulations.
you know, I kind of agree with chat. I think you know, Heather, you're right too. You know, we don't have, you know, a voice in these matters, but people are voting for, you know, people that they kind of agree with.
Sure.
So, you know, and I don't think any of us are claiming to have all the answers, but it's just, you know, where is your moral compass? It's kind of where, you know, these tougher questions that there's not really a right or wrong answer to. It's just how you feel. And I feel like most people kind of vote with their hearts about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I'm pro-choice. You know, have some abortions. Just don't get carried away with it. You know, there's obviously people that take advantage of the system in every regards of healthcare. You know, you can't have 15 abortions, but you know, there's a median like there is in life in every topic, and we have to find that fine line.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff. What about the needle exchange, or as Sam would say, the needle giveaway? He says it's not an exchange.
Yeah, that should have stayed dead when it was killed.
What's that? The needle exchange.
The needle exchange. Yeah, when it was voted down the first time, it should have stayed that way. Should have never came back to the table.
Does everyone agree?
I was in those meetings when it was, you know, going to bring back, cause one of the counselors who ended up voting for it was not there, so that's, you know, why it was
Who's that?
Sarah. So that's why it was brought back, but there was several meetings, you know, that had happened beforehand. They had come to city council and said they would not be having syringe services being provided in the building. I think we can all agree that, you know, the building is an eyesore. It's a blighted area in Pueblo. And if you can start fixing up some of those buildings down there, you know, eventually Northern Avenue will, you know, also get cleaned up. And I think that we could have all agreed on council that putting some kind of a wellness center to provide services to people in that area is a good idea. But I think the majority of us on council had questions when business owners and residents were coming to council questioning having syringe service in the building. And, you know, the ordinance, I'm not sure if you watched, was adjusted on the spot to allow syringe service. Regina and I voted against it, and it was a 5-2, and it passed. And I've personally been over there a few times cleaning up buckets of needles. So I know it's a problem. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I think it's going to be more of a problem. And I think that we tried to listen to what the business owners and what the residents, I mean, you're not too far from it either, wanted, and I don't think that that's what we got at the end of the deal. And so it was very disheartening that a nonprofit that we provided money to flipped the script the night of the council when everybody had agreed and agreed what we wanted it to look like, and that's not the way that it went.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, if they want to provide some sort of service, the taxpayers didn't want their dollars going towards that type of service. Now, whether they need a needle exchange or we don't need a needle exchange, that's their business. They want to be in the needle exchange business. It would be nice if we didn't have ever since we've had needle exchanges, we've been riddled with needles, okay, as
Yeah.
far as everywhere. And if they think that's a life-saving or helping a drug addict kick the habit, whatever it is. But taxpayers didn't want their dollars going there.
I'd like to see some kind of accountability coming out of there too. You know, whether that's changing the cap colors for when they're, you know, brought back to the exchange, or you know how citizens are holding SCARA accountable for the number of needles they're distributing, and how we can tell what needles are coming from there and wherever else they come from. And I think that would help, you know, clear up a lot of the issues that we see, whether, you know, if you received a needle from the needle exchange, it was a different color, or, you know, if you took it back a certain day, you got a different color. And so we could really track and see, you know, what an impact it is or isn't making on the community.
Yeah. What I heard is they don't want to change colors. They want to just keep it the same,
Well, of
so
course.
nobody knows.
So nobody
Right.
knows.
I don't think it's the city's business. I mean, I'm for the needle exchange program, but I don't think the city has any business being in the needle exchange program or help fund the needle exchange program. It's been around for years. It's always been a nonprofit. Keep it that way, you know. But I mean, I'm kind of with Regina and Heather. I mean, the taxpayers don't want their money to go to something like that. But do I think it's a necessity? I do, but it's one of those things that I don't think the city needs to be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the city does clean it up for the most part.
Yeah, they clean it up. In this case, they're providing, you know, a building, you know, for them to do their business in.
Yeah, you know, it's good and bad on each side. There's not a right answer, I don't think.
No, when it comes to taxpayer dollars, there should only be one answer, and that we should be responsible with how we spend that, because that $975,000, when we're talking about affordable housing and, you know, sewer tap fees and the cost of sewer tap fees, we have $86 million worth of wastewater infrastructure that's just falling apart. And that's the reason for the raising of those fees. But ARPA monies could have gone. That could have been $975,000 for wastewater infrastructure, and then we could lessen the fees for affordable housing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how fast does it take the city of Pueblo to accumulate $100,000 in taxpayer money? How much do we get a year from taxpayers?
well, I think we've been getting about 115 million with fees and taxes.
A year from
Property tax.
115 million.
Yeah, all the different taxes and fees.
We're looking our budget next year. I think it's $132 million, taking in $122 million between fees, property tax, and sales tax.
Yeah. So 10 million has to come out of the savings in order to cover the expenses.
Oh, wow.
And that's not even what's probably going to have to come out of the reserves for this year, because sales tax has been down over the last few months. This budget was built on a little bit over a 3% increase. I think year to date, as of last month when we received, we were down 2%. So you have to gain about 5% to, you know, break even. And I think
Right now, I think they said that we expected to be with their projections. We took almost 17 million out to cover 2023.
but that was Tabor funds, so that was additional money that the city was not going to receive if we would not have DBRUs. So I understand that. I don't understand taking a third of our reserves for next year's budget to pave roads. I don't understand that. I think if we continue to do that over the next 2 years, the city's going to be in financial trouble.
Whose decision is the roads?
The mayor's.
So Gratishar is taking this money out.
So let's talk about the real thing behind the roads. It's not that it's an election year. The taxpayers giving up, forfeiting their municipal Tabor refund is why we have new roads. Okay, because prior to that, 20 plus years, they never allocated any money towards road maintenance and repair. They didn't have it. I don't know, didn't know their budgets. We just got here, okay? But they didn't have it. So for 20 years, they didn't do anything with roads. The only time you saw a new road is because a developer put it in for whatever their project was. And so we got 17 million 2021 in Tabor refund money that we didn't have to give back. And we've put that in roads. But, again, we're running over. We're running over budget. Like, we're going to do another 10 million this year, but that's what's coming out of the savings account in order to do it. It's the fund balance, but the everyday person understands it as a savings account. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you say, oh, well, you don't want money just sitting in the savings account doing nothing. No, but we could use some other capital improvements that the money could go towards also, not to cover what we should be prioritizing out of the normal revenue. You can only do that for so long. Mm-hmm. You could only take out from the savings for so long, and then kaput. They told us, and then they just tell us with the police that we wouldn't have anything in the fund balance if we gave police
a 10% raise.
If we gave them a 10% raise by 2027.
They said we'd bankrupt the city.
By 2027. But they can take 10 million out, and they have a 10-year plan that we could still live off of them, what's in the savings for the next 10 years, because, it's all nut and shell. It's like, do you know that terminology? It's a nut and shell. It's like a little game here. This is what we're going to say this time.
I don't know, but that Prairie Avenue in front of the Gratishar homestead, it's nice. And they just put in a really nice curb cut. It's nice. That's sarcasm because that's the Gratishar homestead.
But you know what was the negative about Prairie?
What's that?
Is that you have all live wires still on telephone poles all down there. And if they really did that right, if they did it correctly, they would have buried all of those electrical lines.
Well, and that's an expense that would come onto Black Hills, and that can be expensive from when you go from overhead to underground. Mm-hmm. But no, that would have been
but when our seniors are having $600 electric bills in the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Hills,
Yeah. No, it's there's always I see tons of poor planning, and I think Heather called out the mayor on it as far as Prairie Avenue. The concrete work wasn't done.
Have you noticed, Tom? They're going back.
Yeah, no, and that's what I said. They just put a curb cut in front of the Gratishar homestead. I'm not sure if Nick's mom's still alive or not, but he grew up over there on Prairie, next to the Walmart little mini market over there, and that place in the
all that's Gratishar.
Yeah,
but
so
they laid the asphalt before they
right.
finished
They weren't
the
done with the concrete work.
They were only halfway done with the concrete work, and then he told them pave.
Yeah.
It's election year.
Well,
the election.
No, the asphalt plants do close at a certain time, and you've got to get that done. They're not. They're still not closed, but by the time you would have finished the concrete work, you could have jeopardized them being closed.
Well, or we could have planned better.
No, that's it. I mean, and it's always poor planning, because what happens is not, I don't know, you've been in construction, you cut that asphalt back, and it's been compromised. So it starts to rain, we get cold weather, it freezes, it cracks, it gets potholes, so you really, ideally, you want to have the concrete work done.
If you put that form in there correctly, you're not going to have to cut that asphalt.
But they won't let you, unless they've made an exception. You cannot, when you have asphalt like that, you have to cut it back, form it, and then patch it back in. Mm-hmm. They won't let you pour up to the asphalt.
In this case, because it's all new,
they're cutting it up already right in front of the liquor store.
Yeah, I think they are.
Out there cutting
they're cutting back. You know,
Well, yeah, it's like they did. Look at the expense they put into 24th Street. Now we have all this new infrastructure.
Right.
You know, I was going to work, and I could see where they've cut,
You gotta go.
you know, right down the center of the street
You wanna
from patches.
tell
Who
them to
knows
follow
how
you?
old it is,
Right.
like 20 years ago.
Heather has to go, guys.
I have
She's
to
gonna.
go, but I just want to say that this was lovely, and thank you, Deryk and Regina and Tom, and it was nice to just have conversation.
Did you expect it to go like this, or did you expect something worse?
No,
Be honest.
I get along with Regina and Tom, so we can be adults and we can be in the same room and voice our opinions, and you know, try to hopefully improve each other. I think is what it should be about, not name calling, not aggression. So,
I agree.
thank you for hosting us, Deryk.
Of course.
And I just want to wish everybody good luck,
Yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday.
and hope everybody has a great weekend. And thanks everybody for watching at home.
Hell yeah. Heather Graham interview coming soon. I'll
See
let
ya.
her out, and then you guys can continue talking real quick. Oh, we'll let him get situated.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we look at the homeless situation, the crime situation. I think that everybody that's coming to the table, we all want the same.
No, absolutely.
We want to reduce it. I don't know that we're ever going to solve it.
Oh, it's yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, even with economic development, we have ideas, but really no one coming to the table in this position is an expert. And we'll have to, you know, consultants will have to be brought in, but right now, no attempts like that are being made. You know, we're still sticking with the same programs, the same players, and we're not moving any further ahead.
No.
And you know, this is a beautiful city. I've lived here for 33 years. I spent a lot of my childhood here in the summer vacationing. To me, I came from a small farming community. Like when I came here, it was like, oh my gosh, we got a mall and big city.
Yeah.
When my mom moved here, she's like, I can't get around. It's too big. You know, I don't know. You know, I get lost. Well, use your GPS, you know. And so, you know, and it was funny too, because when I moved here and I lived out on the mesa, sometimes I would, on 40th Lane, like 7 miles off of Highway 50. It was pretty
It's far out there.
Yeah. But I still came to town when I wanted to come to town. I didn't plan it. And then I would have family that lived on the south side, and I'd say, oh, let's go to the mall. Oh, yeah, we plan on going on the north side, you know, maybe next Thursday or maybe this weekend. You know, and I do this like 3 and 4 times a day. But it's a beautiful city. I chose to raise my son here. He serves and protects his community here. He's been here for in that business for 15 years. People have asked me, of all the places you've lived, because I've lived in some dynamic places, you know, beach properties, and I did this through my work and through my travels. I lived in Europe, and people say, oh, of all the places you've lived, what do you love the most? And I say Pueblo, Colorado, USA. It's hometown USA.
Hometown.
Absolutely.
And, you know, but I'm going to be honest, I've been disappointed what I've come home to. And so I'm hoping that, you know, we have leadership in the seat that respects Pueblo. Our ancestors didn't come here. They came here to live their American dream. They didn't come here. I think they would be disappointed if they saw what was going on today. And it's just a disrespect for our city through our leadership. And so we need to do something. If we want change, we are the change. The voter is the change. And so when they say, oh, I'm tired of this and I'm tired of that, then change it.
Right. You know, we talk about moving Pueblo forward. You know, if I become mayor, my goal is to move Pueblo back 5 years. Because 5 years ago, we were a much better city than we are now.
But that was before COVID, though.
Well,
you
can only go so far blaming COVID. I mean, that's Mayor Gradisher will tell you that's why the crime rate's so high, because they emptied all these prisons, and you have these problems not just in Pueblo, you have them everywhere. Well, you don't have to have them everywhere. You don't have if you choose to do something about it, we don't have to be like every other city of 100,000 people. We can be different. But if you choose not to do anything about it, well, yeah, things aren't gonna improve.
Those stimuluses, they that might have been the first time some people held $1,700 in their hand. It's not a lot of money to most people, but to some people that was the time of their life. Like they never had that much money in their pocket, so they want to keep living that. So I could kind of see the correlation between COVID and crime, because when you live, most people, they're eating Salisbury steak, they're eating get by eating McDonald's. When you live a little bit better life, for a month or two, you're like, dang, I really enjoyed that, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep living that life, even though it's medium lifestyle in America. That's very sought after.
During my career, I've mentored a lot of people who've worked for me. Mm-hmm. And I usually would choose single moms that were struggling with an $8 an hour job. Because everywhere I went, I had to build a team in order to complete my project. Mm-hmm. And I would choose single moms. And for the first couple of days, not even the couple of days, for 2 weeks, I traveled with my job. And I always lived in a really nice home, furnished, provided by my company, or a lot of times in some of the fancy hotels, because my company owned several high-end hotels. And I would take my girls, and I would go and buy them a wardrobe. And then, instead of going to work, we'd go have breakfast. Then we would go have lunch. Then I would take them to dinner for about a week straight. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, here's something for your child. By the end of that week, the end of the couple of weeks, I say, do you want this for yourself? Well, yeah. Well, then I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you achieve that. And those women still work in the industry today, in a man's world, earning a man's living, taking care of their kids. I have a girl, she's not quite 40. She's got 3 kids now. When I met her, she had the one. She's got 3 kids now. Still doesn't have a husband, and she's taking them on vacation, and they're living in a nice house, and she's driving a nice car, and she's had her struggles up and down. Mm-hmm. But, too many times people are telling other people, just stay where you're at. Poor thing. You can't do anything. You're treated this way because of your skin color. No one's ever going to let you achieve. And that's not true.
White privilege. Is white privilege real?
Is white privilege real? Have you ever heard the Black Eyed Peas song, Where is the Love?
I have heard that. That's a great song.
It's a great song, right?
Iconic song. It
says, when you put your race in front of everybody else's race, it's going to allow you to discriminate. And that's when the hate comes out. Okay?
Okay.
And so, even though I love my culture, I come from many different cultures. And, people want to say, oh, well, you're white, your dad was white, blah, 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 blah. Well, no, my dad was Portuguese, Italian, Irish. And those cultures were so highly discriminated against. I mean, my great-grandmother, her parents were born into indentured servitude in slavery into the Carolinas when they came over from Ireland. People go through rough times.
So you're saying white privilege does not exist in today's time?
No, that's a divisive statement. We came here. Our families came here for opportunity, for the American dream. And yes, there have been setbacks. You'll always get setbacks. But that's what the civil rights movement was for. It put everybody on an equal playing field. And so you can't say that they're being targeted and discriminated against when they have very much members of every race and every culture that are successful.
No, I'll agree with that. I don't think it's real. I think it's an excuse. We just talked earlier about generational poverty. Does it need to be that way? No, but I mean, they've learned it. And if the parents don't, encourage their kids, say, you know what, you need to go to school, Deryk. You know what, you can do better than this.
Yeah.
You can make something of yourself. But as long as the parents are saying, you know what, Deryk, just hang out, man. You need something, just go steal it. It's a different thing. I think everybody has, it may, sometimes it helps who we'll say that, but I think everybody has the same opportunities to get ahead in this country, develop wealth in this country. That's part of the problem also, is we've put so much emphasis on wealth and money and easy money, and everybody thinks wealth is something that you can go out and steal it if you want to acquire it. You can go out and sell drugs. There's so many ways to acquire wealth, and that's the problem. I mean, there's the right way and the wrong way, and it's like a lot of people choose the wrong way. But I don't think I think everybody has the same opportunities. I don't think there's no white privilege.
And I think in Pueblo, you're younger, Deryk, but so I moved here before you were even born. But I think all of the cultures in this city have gotten together, gotten along for many, many years. That I never saw anything as divisive as I saw at the statue. I was like, what the heck? This is not Pueblo.
See, I think, back to your point about the civil rights movement and stuff, legislature and politically, we're trying to make equal footing for everyone, but we can't police people's minds, just because, it's white privilege exists in people's minds. It's who you're going to treat a little bit different.
How do we cure indoctrination? It's indoctrination is what it is. When you're
born into it.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
It's indoctrination when you're speaking negatively about other races because maybe of your own shortcomings, the cards you were dealt. But I've seen people my grandfather came from poverty of the Depression. He moved from the South because of the Great Dust Bowl into California, where he was discriminated against just because he had a Southern drawl. He had an 8th grade education, and yet he ended his career as a vice president of operations for one of the largest companies in California.
I see what you're saying, but historically, people of color got the second pick of everything, or the last pick. It's like everyone got their opportunities, but people that were more white presenting, they got them first, and that just people of color kind of we're in a great position now. Don't get me wrong, but
there you go.
It's
there you go. We're in a great position now, and why are we trying to make up for past mistakes? We weren't even born. We weren't even on this earth. Why are we sitting in that? Why are we stewing?
Well, it's like reparations. Do black people deserve reparations? It's a hot issue, and do black people deserve reparations? I think in some situations they do deserve reparations because they were conned out of their land in some instances. It was taken from them. They would have had multi-generational wealth with just this plot of land, but because of their color, it was taken from them, or they didn't get to kind of just exist there. They were moved.
Well, those Native Americans are the ones who really, in my opinion, deserve reparations.
Great.
My family, we never owned slaves. And kind of like what Regina said, a lot of white people were indentured servants when they came here, and discriminated against. It's, I don't know, and it's like we were talking about, it's indoctrinated. You look at what's going on in the Middle East. Palestinian children are learned to hate Jews. They're taught, they learn it in school. Does it need to be that way? No. I mean, why can't everybody just get along?
I don't know their education system, low key. Are they taught to hate Jews? I mean, I know that's like, it's a crazy war, 100-year war. I'm not educated on that to really
You know
speak
what?
on it.
In this case, I think we're lucky because here in America, the laws and our freedoms, freedom of religion, freedom of all of us to live together, is very important, and it's not respected enough. The things when we're talking about going back and trying to change history and trying to make right by history is taking us to where these countries are suffering where they're at now. And it's a part of it. It's so deep, and you have, if you study it and you research it, you start to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but you can connect the dots. And that's the thing, is when you first learn about it, you go, whoa. But then when you start to connect the dots based off of actual events, then you realize where it's headed. And this conversation within our community isn't as, it's louder than how people actually feel. Okay, because they're being loud about it. But if you talk to any one of the families that have been here for generations, they all played together. They all got along.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about Pueblo. When I had a choice to live one of two places. One was Destin, Florida. The other was San Antonio, Texas. Now, just because San Antonio, Texas has a river walk, I don't compare it to Pueblo. But the culture in San Antonio, Texas, where you have diversity and everybody gets along, is why I chose to live in San Antonio, because it reminded me so much of how everyone got along in Pueblo. I've read a lot of data, a lot of statistics, a lot of research. I've done a lot of research on why this is a big part of the noise right now, and there's a goal in it, and it's disrespectful towards our republic form of government is what it is, and it's our republic form of government that gives us the freedom to live as we do.
Yeah, I mean, we're all here for Pueblo Mayor, but there's ideas that branch out past Pueblo, and I think systematic racism is one of those ideas, and it's just it's in our prison system, it's in our housing situation,
Well, we've run under one form of government here, party politics. It has led this city for 80 years.
Yes.
Okay, one party has dominated this city. You want change, then change it.
Yeah.
Really pay attention to who you're voting for. Seeing, maybe it's not a crazy thing to invest in a Christian leader. As long as they're not bringing it to the table, as long as they're, just implementing values and morals so that we can all get along and thrive in this community and create a healthy environment, what's wrong with that? But right now, we have been led under a form of government and a party politics when it's supposed to be nonpartisan. And Tom, I'm not trying to... My idea on this nonpartisan politics is it's used a lot of times to try to lighten the situation. But here's the thing, is the voter leans one way or the other.
No, absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
And so, it's just, that's just is what it
Yeah,
is.
no, absolutely.
You know,
You know, it's I don't know if you've seen these numbers about how many people have voted and what parties have voted. It's no, you're absolutely right. I mean, and that's so it's going to be interesting to see. I think Pueblo is probably it's pretty well. It's not like it used to be when it was strictly a Democratic town. I think it's about 50%. It's 50% unaffiliated. I'm going to go there, and then probably 25% Democratic, 25% Republican. So this is going to be an interesting election to see how people vote.
if
You
they
know.
come to the table.
Yeah,
You know, because there's a lot of people that are holding off. Now, Republicans, they tend to hold their votes to the last day.
right.
And so they've already decided who they're going to vote for before they even got their ballot.
Yeah, for sure.
But they hold it till the last day. And, you know, that's their prerogative.
Yeah, and I think the Democrats, they've already decided for the most part who they're going to vote for. I'll just say, you know, okay, I'm a Democrat. You wouldn't know that because I was left off of all the information that the Democratic Party put out I'm assuming for a reason. And then, like I said,
Do you want one?
they took down my campaign
Do
sign.
you want one of these?
Oh, no.
Okay.
They took down my campaign sign at Democratic headquarters and they replaced it with the Gratishar one.
Oof.
And then I legally parked my sign trailer on 9th Street in front of the Democratic headquarters. They came out and defaced it.
Oof.
You know,
Who's
so
they?
it's someone from the Democratic headquarters.
Oof.
And it's like they've refused to respond to any emails of mine. Like I say, I haven't even gotten started on this yet. I'm going to wait till the election's over. But you know, I do have I would say Democratic values, and I do believe it. And my Democratic values are probably, Regina's probably thinking, oh, AOC. No, not even close.
No, I know. I already know about it. And this is where the parties used to work better.
Right.
Is where your level of values are, because I don't know that fearing God, loving your family, and loving your country is a political party as much as it is as a person who wants to be in a free land, wants law and order, wants to love thy neighbor, wants to, their children to go to a good school.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we come together.
Right.
On those things. And there's these parts of the parties that are kind of going crazy because you know what? My party doesn't like me either.
What's your party? What do you claim?
Well, I'm a registered Republican.
Registered Republican. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you what do you
Democrat?
Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in basically the collective bargaining agreement. I think strong labor unions really made, and this country kind of what it is as far as slave labor. I mean, it's like without unions, you would still have company owners like Everest still paying whatever that they could get away with, a non-living wage per se, and that's kind of where I'm at. I think that the Democratic Party, and it's like if you get Social Security, that was a Democratic deal. And it's I think the Democrat. I think both parties have done great things for the country, but like I said, I come at it from a organized labor standpoint, and that's where I'm at. I'm not. Do I think what's going on at the border? Do I think we need immigrants in this country? Absolutely, but an open border the way that it's going right now, that's to me that's unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why they don't like you. That's why they don't want you putting your sign in front of their building.
Yeah, I don't care. It's like,
yeah.
But it's you've got to draw the line somewhere on certain things, and it's
what about changes in your personal life? You guys felt any anything different with this whole because the election's coming to a close, within the next week. How's things changed within how people treat you or who talks to you or stuff like that?
Nah, it hasn't. I haven't really seen any change. I do get some crazy things, on Facebook, but yeah, I don't know. And everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I try to respond to some of them, and sometimes it's really hard. You get someone, you can't get through to them. I mean, logic just ceases to exist. I don't know. But that's about all. It's kind of a little stressful. Add some stress to my life as far as that, because I do want to respond to everybody but it's like, oh, forget it. I'm kind of over that. But
yeah, you have to practice self-control.
Yeah,
because I've been guilty. I'll be honest with you. I've been guilty. Sometimes I see somebody attack, and sometimes not even me, but someone else, and it's like, what the, but you grow from that. You come from a person, a regular everyday person, into politics. And Lori Winter asked me, what are you going to do if you lose? How are you going to feel about it then? And I'm going to say, well, the whole point is to try. I'll feel just fine. Because I know that I tried. I know I did my best. And so when you do that and you're determined, I'm taking care of, what I feel is right. And I'm good with that. So
you feel like the public perception of you has gone up or down?
You'd be surprised. I get a lot of positive phone calls. See, one thing that people know about me is that I'll answer the phone when they call. So people call me all the time. And it's cute because they'll call me from like my door knocker or my mailer or something, and they'll go, is this Regina Maestri's office? And I'll go, no, better yet, it's Regina Maestri. And they're like, oh my gosh, it really works. It's you, And I say yes. And the people that call me of all political parties, of all different types of different, economic levels, all these people, they're supporting me. Do I have haters? Of course I have haters. But you know what I learned about haters is they mostly hate themselves. And that's why they continue to come forward. And they think they're projecting some sort of astounding, revelation about Regina, and really all they're doing is showing themselves. And so I can't, if I did this based off of what people thought about me, I'm not the best leader for the job, because as a leader, you have to take the emotion out of it, and you have to make the decisions that the everyday person isn't willing to make because they're too emotionally tied to it.
Right.
And so that's how it works. And we go.
Oh my God, this chat is insane. All right, let's go up a little bit. Let's go to some positive shit.
I don't think there's any. Is there any?
Shout out Adam Withrow. He's running for. What are you running for, Adam? Remind me, because it's something bigger than all of this. Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I feel like, I'll answer my own question.
And that's, when I talk about the regulations and statutes behind abortion, I'm only going to talk about what I know. I'm not going to talk about what makes something up, because then I've killed my cause. I've killed my credibility, right? And so it's funny when they call me, say, oh, I'm part of white supremacy. You obviously don't know anything about white supremacy, because I'm way too dark for any white supremacist to want to be around me.
I thank God I don't know any white supremacists. You're cool with me. I'm not a white supremacist though.
I guess what? Neither do I. I just think it's just funny. It's like if you want to make a statement and you want it to stick, then be credible with it. Otherwise, you just nothing. It's just air. You know.
I do know. And damn, you guys got anything else you guys want to speak on before we I don't know, vote?
I think, I don't go around reading other people's campaign websites, or looking at their stuff. I can only be me. Every piece of literature that was put out by my campaign was written by me. My campaign manager, he did all the nice little graphics and the pictures and all of that, but all the words were my words. Because I'm the one that's going to be serving this community. He wasn't. And so he just said, have at it. And it's from the heart. And it's a plan. And I'm excited to see what happens on Tuesday.
How are they going to announce the winner? Like over local news stations?
Yeah, didn't the news stations reach out to you and ask you if you were having a
watch party?
A watch party?
They did reach out, and I was like, I don't have cable, so no one I know has cable. Cable is dead.
Would you like to come to my home?
I'll come watch it at your house.
Okay.
Let's all go.
Because guess what? I got some really good food. I got some people. You could bring your friends.
Win or lose, we still
come
lose.
over?
Yeah.
You want to come over, Tom? You're more than welcome to come over.
I was just going to stay home and go to bed.
Because I'm having, because I'm having Mexican food, Italian food, and Asian food.
I'll be there. I'll be there for sure.
Okay. I'm going to text you my address. I'm going to hold you to it, too.
I don't have cable, so I'll have to go listen to somewhere.
Yeah, so we'll go, sorry, there's no smoking in my home. And
I can smoke outside.
But you're more than welcome there.
Thank you.
You could smoke on the porch with my mother. She'll be smoking a cigarette, though.
Good cheers, our Dutchies. Tom, you got anything else you want to say to the people before they vote?
And I'm kind of like with Regina. Everything that I've said, I don't have any staff. Nobody, nothing. It's just me. And I think I have gone and looked at a few websites of some of and just recently, because they're sending out these text messages. I sent one out. And it directed people to my Facebook page. Oh, yeah. And could have been a mistake.
That was a mistake, huh?
Yeah, could have been a mistake. But I've looked at some of the other Facebook pages, and it's like the first thing that comes up is they want money. They're looking for a donation. And then you scroll through, and it's like, well, wait a minute. What are they going to do? It's the same thing, I've heard over and over from them. But I don't see any real ideas or any plans laid out. The big thing seems to be they're looking for, a donation. And it's like I say, I think if you feel the job's worth having, and you have the resources yourself, like Mayor Gratishar does, you should invest in yourself.
I did. I mean, 80% of my campaign
is
as the fourth largest earner.
It's like that. My co-host broke it. It's just that tape. You just got to scrunch the tape down.
This tape?
Yeah, fucking Max broke it.
Okay.
I hate Max.
And it's funny because the paper didn't report this, but if it wasn't for my significant other, helping me out, we funded 80% of my campaign. And
yeah, if you feel that it's something worth doing, like say we have a daughter, she's a MD now, and we put her through college and everything, and we said, you know what, you want to go to medical school, that part is on you, but it is an investment in your future. So if you want to be mayor, it's on you. It should be on you. The first time around, I didn't take any money. I think my mom gave me a couple $100, and my brother in San Francisco gave me a couple $100. But I'm not beholden to any man. You know, it doesn't matter. You're not going to, if I become mayor, you're not going to be able to come up to me and say, hey, my brother-in-law needs a job.
There you go.
Remember, I gave you $200 for your campaign? I'm going to say, you must have given that to Nick, you know, or something, because nobody's given me a dime. And I've had people offer me money. I'm like, no, I don't do it. I just don't take it because I don't want to be beholden to anyone. So,
You know, I was lucky on my first run as city council. I was the third highest earner, and I had some very well-known, wealthy people donate to my campaign. And I have to thank Lori Winter for that, because she helped me raise the funds. I didn't know anything about running a campaign. Lori Winter helped me out really well. And none of those people have ever asked anything of me. And they wouldn't get by with it. The only thing that someone did, two people texted me, two of my donors texted me when I was doing the pro-life ordinance. They texted me and they said, stay strong. That's all they ever said to me. Just stay strong. Hold your head up and stay strong. Wow. And that's it. They didn't tell me you need to do this or anything. Just stay strong. And so I'm beholden to no one. No one's going to come in and try to tell me what to do, or try to tell me to do the wrong thing. You know, I only fear one person, and that's Jesus Christ himself. And because of that, I'm led to do the right thing. That's why, Tom, I'm not going to give you a regulation and it not be true.
Don't worry.
There are 3 regulations, though. You want me to tell you what they are?
Okay.
They all have to do with funding. Isn't that sad? They're going to make sure where the money comes from and where it doesn't come from.
Damn, fuck you, Steve. Gratishar and Graham, you just counting us all out right here and you're watching us right now, bro? I'll ban you from chat for that one.
You can't be a public employee and use your insurance to have an abortion. The other one was you had to have a licensed hanging in the office, but that person doesn't have to be there. And the third one was something about public. You can't receive public funds for your services. So now if a nonprofit, say the clinic itself, gets donations, that's one thing, but you can't use public funding like Medicaid. And so that was it. It was sad. That's why
if this is true, I mean, it is sad,
right?
You know, it's like, this is, you know.
And this is our community. And we weren't trying to make abortion illegal. We were just trying to say, hey, this is an unregulated law, and it has to do with women's health and safety. And we shouldn't permit that. We should stand up for our women. And the pro-choicers are doing a disservice to women if they're not out there collectively fighting this state to regulate abortion. So they can be like saviors all they want to say, oh, a woman has a choice. But protect women. Protect them if that's what you think is okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's an invasive procedure, and it would just like going to a same-day surgery center to have your gallbladder removed. I mean, you got to have a professional who has some training to do this, because, or you know, what if something goes wrong? You know, and there's this is my 3rd day on the job, man. I don't know. Yeah. Should I call an ambulance? What? You know, it's like, So there was a huge history behind Dr. Carhart. He had the gentleman the abortionist that was opening this clinic. He was 83 years old.
Couldn't even see those babies.
You know, he testified throughout his career on a national level in front of Congress, asking for laws to be passed where the fetus could be born and I'm going to correct myself on that, because he always referred to it as a baby. Most abortionists use the term fetus because it discounts the importance of the life inside, but he used the term baby. He legislated for those babies to be born, and he would terminate them after birth because it was a safer procedure for the mother, because he had lost 2 patients and permanently damaged many. And so I only speak this because I will not come to the table. You know, the reason why I went to Mark Lee Dixon didn't come to me. Texas never came to me. But when I looked at what the concern was, I said, I need the best person, best legal in the nation to come to the table with me, and I had it. I got it. And then also Jay Sekulow came in and got in front of council and said, if you don't allow her legal team to talk about the legal behind the ordinance, then we will sue the city for viewpoint discrimination.
Well,
don't ask the question, though. Don't ask the question, Deryk, and then just when they're not liking the answers, change the subject.
No, I'm just trying to,
The whole abortion thing, I mean, it's
we did bring through it one time, though.
very, very divisive, I mean, in the country. And it's like, it's one of those things that...
All right, guys. Yeah. Tell us what you guys think in the chat. We could run this back in a few days if you guys really want us to. I'm trying to get every single candidate here. Randy, Gradishar, Dennis, where you at for real? I bet you guys are watching this.
They're scared.
You guys are, they're
scared.
I didn't say it. I did say it, though. Come through. You guys are always welcome here. Anyone that wants to make a difference in Pueblo is always welcome to speak their mind here. Do you guys want to tell the people where they can follow your campaign?
www.regina4pueblo.com.
Mine's Tom Crochel, for the people.
Bow. All right, guys. Regina, Tom, Street Champs. Chat, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to be doing a live stream right after this. We're going to be Tron, Helena, Max, all of them.